Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, from race to recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
Hey, Kenny, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Tom. How are you?
I'm fantastic as well. We are coming back with Brandon Gibson to talk again. Like, we're just finally catching up with you. It's been months, Brandon.
Yep.
We had, as part of our triathletes journey, we've been going through a crazy year. Everyone's been going through a crazy year. We're trying to catch up towards the end of the year here and wrap up a little bit. So we get Brandon. We're excited because we know Brandon always has some good stories. And I think we left Brandon last. We did the 70.3 in Chattanooga.
Yep.
Which was interesting.
Yes,
it was
very interesting.
That's right.
And then what happened after that? You needed some surgeries after that, right?
Yeah, I
So
ended up
that's where
having a
you get back
hernia. With my history of my medical stuff, I ended up having a hernia close to one of the surgery sites. That was pretty bad. Had a surgery in June. It was a kind of a minor surgery. It only lasted about an hour. They went in and did some sewing of it up. And we were hoping, praying that it was going to work, and it lasted for about 4.5 weeks. So I was planning.
That long, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was planning on. Louisville was out of the picture because originally I was going to do Louisville and then North Carolina.
Yeah.
And Louisville was already canceled, so I had a few sprints in between that surgery and North Carolina that I was going to do. That all went away. In early August, actually about 5 days before RiverBluff. I think RiverBluff was August 11th. I think is what it was.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
It was actually August 11th because my surgery is August 12th.
Yes.
The next day.
I think that's where I saw you. I saw you at the race.
Yeah. Yep. So, and 5 days before that, I was in the hospital with a bowel obstruction from the hernia. It had gotten even worse on the other side and caused a bowel obstruction. I was in the hospital from, I think it was like Wednesday to Saturday. RiverBluff was Sunday. I didn't tell my doctors I was going to go to RiverBluff. Went and did RiverBluff.
Yeah. Oh my
God. With the hernia, I was just, which I don't recommend, but
Anybody listening to this is like, not do this.
Yeah. I didn't know what was going to come of the surgery, to be honest. I didn't know how bad it was going to be. This was because he was like, we have to do it now. We have to do it Monday. And then you're out for 3 months after that. So you're not doing anything for 3 months after that. And at least 3 months is what he said. It wasn't just 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I did RiverBluff and didn't PR it or anything, but I did good. I didn't do my worst. I didn't do my best. I kind of
getting across the line at this point is just, congratulations, dude.
Yes.
And it was and I got through it, and the next day I had my surgery. Kind of got an earful from the surgeon because he's like, "You did what?" And then
he
the
knew
anesthesiologist.
you raced. I'm sure he looked and went, "Hey, this got worse overnight."
The anesthesiologist was the one worried about it the most because of my electrolytes and things, which was actually kind of crazy. And then she had to take blood, and they took blood, and then she comes back and goes, "You might be the most hydrated and well electrolyted up person there is in the whole hospital." Yeah. And I was like, well, probably because I drink a lot after, rehydrate and stuff. So you kind of bulk yourself back up with stuff. And so I ended up having the surgery. It was surgery number 30. I hit a milestone on my surgery. So, it was one of the worst ones. It was just for a hernia surgery. It was a 7-hour surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, very long. I mean, there's heart surgeries that are shorter than that. So it was a 7-hour surgery, but they fixed it. I mean, they fixed it right. I really shouldn't. It is a 99% success rate with the way they did this. They pretty much blanket it with a block of mesh, and there's really no way for the way they have to sew it up and everything. There's really no way for anything to get around it. But with that came a lot of pain afterwards, and dealing with that. So I was in the hospital for 12 days, the old epidural and all that for 7. And I've been resting. I rested up until, I guess it's 2 weeks ago. So yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
The 7th, I think, is when I saw the surgeon of this month, and I got cleared, and I went for a run that afternoon. So,
which is better than me. I cramped up my calf like a mile and a half in. This guy's got months of hernia surgery, and he's
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So,
and I ran and talked to Sarah, and she already had me a plan that starting that Thursday, and I just went with it, and I've been pretty much going since, and I'm at that point where I'm tired, like my body's actually fatigued.
Yeah.
Feels good, doesn't it? Like a
It
different
does,
kind
and
of fatigue.
And I kept saying that while I was in the hospital, and everybody's like, you just need to heal, and I'm like, I just want to get back to being uncomfortable, like not this pain. I wanna be
not a sharp
uncomfortable.
recovery
like,
pain, but like a sore muscle, like.
And for the 3 months I was like that. I told everybody, don't ask me to go run. Don't talk about running. Don't talk about cycling in front of me, because it's going to make me want to go do something, and I shouldn't. I need to heal for the the 3 months, and I did. I didn't do anything. I stuck to my guns, and I healed, and
good.
And it turned out great. So I've been doing well since then.
What limitations do you, other than you just obviously lost form like crazy? What do you have a limitation as far as like, hey, don't overstretch on this, don't push on that?
So
what are your guidelines?
He actually gave me no restrictions.
Oh, okay, great.
So they did. I ended up right before I got cleared, about 2 weeks before I had COVID and a staph infection and another infection of some sort, and I was in the hospital then, just getting re-tanked up because any kind of GI thing and all that, puts me way down. So
at this point, you just have a plaque on a room. Is that what it is?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
For good flyer mileage.
I have my insurance is paid for a wing in that hospital.
Yeah, seriously.
And they looked at a CT scan. It healed perfect.
Everything
it looks really, really good.
That's so good.
I have a few little pains here and there, like on certain spots. I went and saw a pain doctor. That I had a few injections put in there, and that's just the sutures are so tight in there. The way they did this surgery, there's no room for it to flex, and those sutures pull, and that you can just kind of, it's uncomfortable feeling. But there's really no restrictions now. When I start to feel things stretch and pull, like I did today in the pool, I have lifting on the schedule, but I'm not doing that yet. It's light lifting. It's not anything heavy or high, big reps or anything like that. So, I told her that I need to hold off, until probably the new year. I think I need to keep stretching this a little more before I start really bearing down and working with that.
Assuming it's like a range of motion more than it is strength.
It
right?
is.
Just try to get that range of motion.
I feel it more. So I felt it more on a trail run. I think the side to side, the core.
Yeah, there's a little more. There's a little more torsion in here.
And then the swim. On the bike, I don't really have the problem. Regular running on a road, no real problem. But twisting, your rotation in the pool and your stretching, your stroke has pulled on it, and then the trail run. But I've got some stuff coming up, so my plan going forward is just I really want to get better at the run. I think that's kind of the epiphany I've had. That I'm decent in the bike. I got a new bike. I only rode on it once. I rode it at RiverBluff, and that's kind of why I did RiverBluff, because I got that brand new bike. And I'm like,
you didn't start with that, Brandon. You got to lead with that. Well, I got a new bike. Oh, well, in that case,
So I
have a broken hip and be on that bike.
Yeah.
So I had to race it, even though in T1, I couldn't find it because I was looking for my old bike. It's like, where am I at?
28-minute transition.
I went past it like 3 times. Like, oh,
has
man,
anybody
this
seen a
is bad.
felt?
What I'm looking for.
It's blue.
Yeah, but I think I realized in talking with my coach, I think running will help translate into a better finish for me, because everything I've done has been, it's kind of fallen at the end of the bike into the run, right?
You're strong on the bike.
Yes.
You've built up some good strength on the bike, so that's you just needed to carry over and get that run.
Yeah, so
going.
I'm planning on doing a lot of volume of running early in the season, a lot of trail running. And to me, trail running is one of the best runs you can do because it forces you to be slow in that like zone 2 area.
Yeah.
In that up those hills, I don't run up the hills. I try to power hike them, try to keep my heart rate down as much as possible. And I think it just kind of forces me to be more grounded. When I'm running on the road, I'm just
it also forces you to pick your feet up. I love trail running for that because you talk to road runners on a regular basis and they can't pick their feet up. And they say, well, they always trip on the trail. I'm like, well, because you're just barely picking your foot off the ground. I'm like, the lug of your shoe is going to catch something and send you sprawling. So you have to pick your feet up and you get stronger. So now your knees are kicking higher. You're actually better form. It's softer on your body. So it's a little bit easier around.
So Brandon, I'm sitting here like, it's ridiculous what you're going through, right? And I think, from a viewer perspective, how do you maintain that, just keep moving forward, kind of? Like, how do you don't just go, you know what, I'm going to be sedentary, I'm just going to be happy, like you said, you're already geared up for is that what motivates you? Is that what keeps you moving forward? Or if you have people that are, going through a surgery, you're gone through 30, I mean, what do you say to those people? Just,
early on in my surgery journey, there was a lot of doubt. Like I think we talked about that before on the podcast. There was a lot of doubt there. But since I've gotten into this sport and these endurance sports, I feel like I've overcome so much with the surgeries. Right? This almost falls into line with overcoming things.
Yeah.
Like. Almost
I didn't go through all this to do nothing, right? It's like
and I feel like endurance sports is constantly a battle with yourself, right? It's a battle with your body, a battle with your mind, a huge battle with your mind when you're in it, and I think that's what motivates me, that I want to continue to. I guess I've just been living with overcoming things, and that's just now that I'm getting healthier, even though I just had a surgery and everything, but I am It's crazy to say I am healthier. The last 3 years I have been healthier, which it's hard to explain, but I am. And I just want to continue that. And I think that's what motivates me, that I just want to continue to show that I can do things to myself. Not only to my my kids and everybody else that sees me, but it's almost a motivating factor for me to try to motivate people too. Like like, hey, if I can do this, anybody can do this.
Yeah, seriously,
exactly.
Certainly, and your kids especially. I mean, that you are a great role model for them to see what overcoming things are, because life isn't easy. Right. No. So it's a lot harder for some people, but you're always going to have to overcome something. So, I mean, you're a great role model for that. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I think there's a certain percent of the population that kind of, has a surgery or a fallback, right? I tore an ACL and I guess that's the end of my, that's the end of my triathlons. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be. It may be different. Coming out the other side may be a different version of you. But you can still do that. Yeah, you may not be crushing PRs, or you may not be that same version of you, and you may have to train differently, where before you couldn't train. You can train anything you want. So I think hopefully the takeaway for these people, for people watching is like, or listening, hey, it doesn't define who you are, that surgery. What it does is it does another setback, just like you would if you had a nutrition problem or a calf problem. Yours just happens to be quite extraordinary and kind of, it makes for a hell of a good story. But it's, it's the idea of pushing forward.
It's another challenge, right?
Yeah.
It's another challenge that you just need to figure out. And no matter if you get hurt or anything, it just adds a degree of difficulty to it.
Yeah.
And it's, everybody has things, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You get into the sport, you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, you're going to have something that hurts, and that shouldn't be, it just seems like
Just overcome it, figure out how to move through it. Yep.
Yeah,
That's cool.
You've tested the mental side of it, the mental side of overcoming that difficulty, right? So we're uncomfortable. Yeah. I think that's the biggest challenge in endurance sports is like your mind sets you a trigger at a point where you go, I should stop. And you're the prime example of it, but your example of knowing that threshold is set so low.
Yeah, it's
and
very
that
low.
There's so much further you can go. There's so much deeper you can go before it really is an issue. And most people don't even, like, once they tick that threshold, they just stop. And and then there's you who's taking it to another extreme because look, you've been through pain, like ridiculous pain. Yeah. And then, so endurance sports is almost easy at that point. It's just like, well, hell, I've done this before. This isn't that bad. I can do this. I can push through this, and that just helps you out on it. So,
and when I get into these things, and like I've got some very long trail runs coming up, and I know that's going to be painful. I eventually want to get into the 50-miler range, and
nice.
And then plus, and do some. The ultimate goal would be to do Lake Placid in 26.
Sweet.
With a lot of, that's a lot of elevation up there.
It is.
So, that's kind of, I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
What makes you just go for, it's like go big and just figure it out.
Yeah.
And get through it. And that's just kind of, I've just kind of been, that's my direction
Nice.
on all of these things, is just try to keep pushing myself a little further and further, even though I probably, I may not be ready there. And that's another thing that I think people get scared. They get scared to attempt it. They see that number and they're like, I can't do that. Well, you can.
Yeah.
You can. Anybody can do that. You just have to put the work into it. It's
exactly.
the journey getting there. Not, there's a big journey to get there.
Yeah.
And
so what does that look like? What's the training? What's the plan for next year for 25? Looking like that's going to get you to Placid in 26. So how are you building? How is Coach Sarah building you up for the?
Well, I handed her a spreadsheet of all of these races. So I told her I have this spreadsheet of these races, and she's like, okay. And then I told her that my plan, my thought behind this was to do a lot of volume of running early in 25, doing black toe with a set of a certain amount of distance that I want to go. I want to do a 50K there. I originally was going to do a 50K at Bell Ringer this December at Montgomery Bell State Park, but I'm only going to do the 25K, and that's only in 2 weeks, I think. Is what it is. So I'll be doing.
Even then, that one's a monster, by the way. So I did that one. It's non-trivial.
I did the 25K last year, and it was rough. So I actually think I'll do better this year. I think I know what I'm getting into, and I think I'll that was one thing, going into 25 and coming out of this surgery, that I realized that my heart rate, it bounced back like beautiful. Like my pace, my heart rate at first it was very high, but then it's settled. Like it's settled back to the same pace that I can hold the same pace that I was before the surgery.
Okay.
The thing that's getting me is the muscle fatigue.
Yeah.
The muscles are just like my legs are just dead. They don't want to move. They don't want to, and that's, but going into 25, a lot of volume of running early. I'm going back to Chattanooga because I'm going to beat that place. This is my third attempt, and I am going to
keep
beat
the
it.
spokes. Is that the one where
Yeah,
we keep the
yeah.
spokes
Yes.
intact? And
We gotta.
Everything about it, I'm going to beat it.
So if you have an issue where it feels like something's dragging, you're
Yeah,
gonna
I know.
stop.
I'm
You're gonna
stopping.
check it.
Stopping.
You're gonna
You're
fix
saying-
it, and then
Yes.
you're gonna go.
Yes, yeah,
So-
that is exactly what's going to happen.
there you go.
Because I'll just hopefully at that point I've got a lot of volume in the run, and I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
pace it back, right? So
Yeah.
and then during the heat months is all sprints. I thought about the Louisville again, but it's just too. I think it's too hot for me.
Yeah.
Physically, I don't know if I should do that if I can't get my nutrition right when it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I need to learn that nutrition when it's cool, and then work it into the
Into the heat.
and into the heat.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's
and-
smart. So you're not completely, you're not going into this thing like, torpedoes be damned, right? I mean,
No, yeah,
So that's
yeah. I there is a theory behind all
Yeah.
of this, like that. It might not be the right one, but
sounds pretty solid.
I think so. Sprints all through the summer, and then 2 late 70.3s, either Michigan and then North Carolina, or Augusta and North Carolina, or something like that. I haven't figured out yet logistically what I'm going to do, and then that will set me up for a 70.3 in the spring,
Yeah.
and then Lake Placid in July, I think is what it is.
How
Yep.
exciting.
So that's the long goal.
Nice.
Yeah. So
And I think you're doing it right by ramping up for what is, a year and a half, almost 2 years out.
Yep.
I think that's the right way to do it. It's a nice build where you can build steady and not try to crank it out. So
Yeah, and I don't plan on doing. I may do some short races like in there in between the 70.3 and
Yeah.
but it's just going to be short stuff. It's not going to be anything that's going to really.
No, you just work
have
on
to
some
dig
speed.
deep.
You
Yeah.
just work on some speed and transitions.
Yeah.
You just kind of get used to the race feel.
Yeah.
So that's not overwhelming when you get up to the big A race type of thing. And then the rest of your time will be putting in
Just
you know,
hours.
the hours and putting
Just
in the
that-
miles.
The miles.
Just putting the miles in.
That's
you know.
that's the big thing, and just trying to figure out the time commitment and with the
Yeah.
family and everything, because it is a time commitment. It's a commitment
Yep.
for them too.
It is.
My
Oh, yeah.
wife and the kids. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot for a 70.3, and it's even exponentially
Yeah.
more. It's not just double; it's
Yeah.
exponentially more, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
And when you're doing your first Ironman distance race, then that's the one that's like you're so focused in
Yeah.
on stuff, and that's the one. That's the one that I think is hardest for everybody because there's so much unknown. I mean, at least you and your family know the training that goes into a 70.3, so they're a little bit
Yeah.
familiar with that end of it. But the intensity that you'll be feeling just naturally putting on yourself, right? For the first full, as that's where you need to find the stress relief or find the ways to spend time with the family that it's a little bit more mellow and you're not like it's not all
Yeah.
or nothing, right? It's
Yeah, it's not
finding the
everything
right
that-
perspective for it to know that
Yeah.
you don't have to be so driven and so siloed to do it, that you've got enough training, you've got enough experience that you'll do fine.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
get through it. And it's not
Yeah.
it's not about and that's the stress that I think you put on yourself is like
You
am
put
I
it on
gonna make
yourself.
it? Am I
You
going to
get-
make it?
Yeah.
Am I going to make it? Well,
Yeah. Every athlete that I've talked to, myself included, that went through that very first Ironman distance race, it was all encompassing. Like that was all you could think about. Like every waking moment was about the training, about everything leading up to race day, and it was, ridiculously obnoxious to poor Wendy. She was putting up with this.
And I'm sure that afterwards, I mean, I realized this with a 70.3. I'm sure afterwards there's a massive crash from that too. Like
Yeah.
A little
there's
bit, like-
there's
Especially because you're setting this thing up on a pedestal as this massive thing. It's almost like you need to put something on the back end, right? What are
Yep.
you going to do afterwards?
And-
What's the next race after that? Don't end your planning there. You need to
Yeah.
fill it and know that, okay, I've got a little relaxing and then I've got a 70.3 that I'm going to knock out in 2 or 3 months. So you've got something else because the letdown is huge.
that's
Yeah, and it's not just it's the fact that your life has been structured 6 days a week,
Yeah.
for months, right? So you spend, 9, 10 months training 6 days a week, and then all of a sudden you're done and you're like, well, what do I do? Do I run
That's-
today? I mean, I can
That's
say
what
no.
I've realized. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've realized that I have to have something else afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I don't have things lined up afterwards, it's why I get that. What am I doing this for?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
and and I know people love to talk about that journey, but I love to race. I mean, I grew up racing. Racing is
Yeah.
like that is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's all about the race day. It's
Yeah.
not so much about the training for me as it is the
Yeah,
actual
but
race day.
I think you'll find with like the 50s, like what you're doing with anything like long like that, right? A 50K, a 50 miler, an Ironman. It's one thing to do a half where you feel like you can push it, right? It's like, okay,
Yep.
it's sub 2 hour marathon. Let's try to figure out how to get that. You know, I can do that. What's interesting, at least from a mindset perspective on Ironman and 50 milers, is you're there for the day. Like, you know, you're not, yeah, you're trying to be efficient about what you're doing and you're trying to be careful about what you're doing. But hey, man, you're going to see the sunset, you know. So in some respects, it's a little bit less pressure because you just know you're there for the day. You're not trying to rush it and I can do this in
Right.
5.5 hours. You're like, I just run through my progression. I'm here for the haul, right? So settle in, get comfy. It's going to be uncomfortable for, you know, easily north of 10 hours, 11 hours. So
Oh, yeah.
same thing on 50 milers, right? You're not going to run really
No.
fast on a 50 miler. You're just going to settle into a nice pace and you run your progression. So in some respects, it's almost a little less stressful than a half because of this expectation on a half to try to, you know, I got to beat my time. Where on the
I'm
full,
trying to
you're
I'm
like,
trying to do a sub so many hours.
Exactly.
Some
Where-
sort, some, you know,
yeah. And you're
could-
close to doing it because you can kind of get away with it a little bit. You're not getting away with it on a 50 miler or
I
an
think
Ironman.
that's what it was going into the first 70.3. My goal was to finish, right? That took the pressure off. I know I'm going to,
Yeah.
I can walk the entire thing and I'm going to finish
Exactly.
it. I'll be okay. This one hurt a little more because I knew I wanted to push it and
Yeah,
I
you
could
lean in,
probably do
right.
better.
Yeah.
And then I didn't go out
Yeah.
the way I wanted
Yeah.
the Chattanooga. So,
Yeah.
I need to realize that, you know, a race is a race. Anything can happen during the race. You just have to roll with the punches and
Yeah. Run through the
don't let
progression.
that,
right?
don't let that,
Yeah.
you know, smack you down.
Yep.
Because there's always another race.
There's another race. It's just one
Yeah.
blip. It doesn't define you. It's that long length of time of your life, and this is one little tiny speck in it, right? So
Listen to Tom. We're just mere sand specks in the
we are just
beach of
in the
universe.
hourglass of time.
Wow. I feel like we need to light incense right now.
A little piece of quartz. going through
I think Tom's going to come back with like an all, you know, a kind of an all natural like robe, and it's like, what are we here for? What
If
is
I could grow a beard,
big-
I would have a beard out here. But this is it, right? This is about all I got.
the journey of time begins with the first step? Dang,
It's
Tom.
all it. It's all it.
We're excited for you, Brandon. I think
Nice.
Thank you.
you've got a nice. No one ever said I ran too much before they go into an Ironman or a half Ironman. Like, gee, I should have ran less. Like, I don't think I've
Yeah,
heard.
no one's no.
You know,
It's all about the
always-
run.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's another good-
that's what I've noticed, and I feel like it's all about
Yeah.
the run.
Every race.
In every
Yeah.
race, and I just need more of it. I need to learn how to actually do it. And
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Keep a pace and hold it, and even after I'm already tired, you know, and
Yeah.
and that's I need it.
And that's
And-
the strength training part of it will help you stave off the fatigue and be centered when you're running. So that'll help tremendously. So doing some, squats and deadlifts and a lot of squats and lunges and that type of stuff really builds up that
Yep.
posterior chain and allows you to run solidly.
Yep.
So-
Lift heavy shit.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Just gotta lift heavy stuff. It's what it is.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
it's-
my new shirts.
That's awesome.
Lift heavy shit. I
It's a
like
good
it.
shirt. I kind of like that shirt too.
So,
Oh, definitely.
what are you
take
doing?
that.
Lifting.
Lifting.
That's Brandon. What are you doing? Lifting.
Lifting.
So there
So I
you go,
say
buddy.
lift heavy things and put them back down again.
There you go.
I'm just
They
kind
go
of
out and
going
run.
with that.
So
Yeah. So that's it's crazy stuff, Brandon.
Yeah.
But always impressed. Love talking to you. Love getting the stories and following along because you do such good mental game getting through this crap. So
Yeah,
I
it's
really
fun to-
appreciate you sharing it.
yeah, and every time we talk, like, I've got issues I'm going with, and it just, it puts it in perspective. Like, hey, that's interesting. Oh, your calf is sore. You're dealing with, trying to figure out how to 3 months of rehab so you can just go run. I mean, that's fantastic. So in the scheme of things, keep going, man. Keep inspiring people like us. So
well, thank you guys for letting me do this journey with you guys and explain it to you and explain it to your audience, because it's it's not a norm by any means.
No, it's not.
But it's something that it may happen to anybody, right? You may get in, you don't know where to go, but have faith and just keep pushing. Because anybody can do it, even after massive issues.
Yeah.
So
exactly. What's your excuse?
Setbacks and everything. Yeah. So it's all good. So thanks everyone for, listening in, questions, comments, send those in. If you've got questions for Brandon, let us know. Tag us. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully you're watching on YouTube or listening on any of the podcasts. Subscribe. We've got more of this coming. We've been a little slipshod here in the last couple months just because we've been busy and crazy, as everybody else is, I'm sure, as well. So next year we've got some great stuff coming up, and we've got some more this year as well. So hit the subscribe button. It'll be floating around here someplace. Keep following along. We appreciate everybody's listening and downloads and all that great stuff. So we appreciate you all. Kenny, Brandon, always fantastic. Great talking with you guys.
Thank you.
And for everyone, we'll catch you on the next one.